right, we are already 70 people strong. So I'm gonna get started real quick because we just need some housekeeping in here that we need to get done. So good morning to everyone who's based in the US, Canada, and Mexico. Good afternoon to Europe and Africa. And good evening to all of you guys in as far as in Asia and as far as Indonesia, I've seen on the list, even Australia. God, it's 2 a.m. in Australia, so that shows what kind of a celebrity Brittain is. So I'm Durak. I'm based in Boston. I head up the customer success team for Solvoyo. Solvoyo's mission is to make supply chains autonomous, mostly for retail and CPG companies. Now, before we get started, you know that we're going to play a trivia game based on Q-commerce. So we have to make sure, in order for you guys to be able to play, that you download or have an access through your browser to the Kahoot game. So Begüm is going to just walk you through the how-to on this, and then we'll get going with the game.
Hi, everyone. It's great to see you here. So we will play a game of Kahoot, and we have special prizes. The top winner gets a free one-on-one session with Brittain Ladd. And to show our solidarity, we will donate second and third place prizes to humanitarian cause helping Ukraine. So, and here's a quick video to show you how to play Kahoot. So I will start Kahoot in just a minute. If you're sure, you open the desktop on kahoot.it or from the mobile app. I'll just share the code in a second.
Okay, as you guys are signing up, why don't we introduce the panel? So, I have two partners in crime from Solvoyo. You just met Begüm. Begüm is part of our growth team. And ladies first, let's start with Asena.
Hi, I'm Asena Denizeri. I'm the head of retail solutions at Solvoyo, and our planning platform addressing retail solutions end-to-end planning needs serve all types of retail. Basically, in the old days it was just brick and mortar, then it became e-commerce, and now, especially in the last 2 years, with the huge increase in Q-com companies, we were one of the first platforms, to serve this fast and furious business model. And happy to be here with you. It's great to have so many different countries and so many different paths crossing here today. And always, of course, happy to be chatting with Brittain. And hope you'll enjoy today. We'll start with the Kahoot game to make sure everybody's in the mood. Those who have to wake up early, we give you a couple of minutes to wake up, and those who are staying up late, hopefully this will be a good reason to drink maybe another cup of coffee and stay in the competition. Okay, all right. Perfect. Just looking at the names, I think we already have a very diverse set of players.
Okay, so as we wait for more people to sign up, Brittain, could you take like a few minutes to introduce yourself? Obviously, you are the main panelist in here, and everybody's just so excited to hear what you have to say.
Well, first of all, thank you so much, everybody, for those of you around the world who got up early for this. That's late your time, it's early your time. So truly, this is very special for all of us here. I am Brittain Ladd. Most of you know who I am from the articles I write for Forbes, for BrittainLadd.com, for the post I put on LinkedIn. So I'm really happy to be here. We're really going to have an informative session. I've spent a lot of time researching rapid grocery delivery. I was one of the first people to start writing about it. So I encourage all of you to submit whatever questions you may have. We have a great panel. I have a lot of respect for these ladies. We've communicated for quite some time now to come up with something that we think all of you will enjoy. But although we have questions that we're going to be asking and I'll be answering, feel free to submit whatever questions you have and we'll do our best to work them into our conversation. So Honest, once again, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much, Brittain. By the way, just to add to his credentials, the reason why we wanted to do this particular event with Brittain is because he's so unafraid to speak his mind. He's a straight shooter, very honest, and he's also very meticulous in his research. And actually, his detective work is the very reason how we came across him. When we found out that he was writing about Solvoyo, we were surprised to really see it. And then we reached out to him and said, "Oh, you know us, and how did this really come about?" And he said, "Guys, I have been following you since 2015." So that really shows how much of a detailed and meticulous work that he does, not only understand, the key Q-commerce players, but also the ecosystem of partners serving the Q-commerce industry. So we're very grateful that, Brittain is leading this panel, and looks like we have 54 people sign up. So it looks like we can actually get going with our first question. Ready to play? I hope the answer is yes. Okay.
All right, let's do this.
There we go. Let's test how well you know Brittain Ladd. 3, 2, 1. Yes, the first question. So, if Brittain Ladd had not turned out a retail thought leader, what would he have been? A handbag designer, an economics professor, a movie producer, or an MFC robot? Pick the right answer, guys.
And the right answer is there. Yeah, the answer that's correct is actually the true, really what I would have been had I not done what I'm doing today.
Not on handbag designer, I'm disappointed.
No.
Even though he talks about handbags. Okay. Let's go with the very nice number 2. Go ahead.
Which one of the following is one of Brittain Ladd's favorite books?
What's interesting about the book, that is my favorite, it was written during World War II. And it's so applicable to a lot of the stuff going on today, which is why England Slept is not only my favorite book, but it's a book I always recommend to people to read this, even though it was written over 50 years ago.
Great. All right.
Here is number 3. How does Brittain define Q-commerce?
I like this video of the lady pushing everything in the cart. E-commerce on steroids, that's absolutely correct.
All right, looks like a good portion of our audience knows you very well.
Look at
Yeah, I'm
JF
impressed with
is
this.
leading.
So what's the largest amount of funding raised by a single Q-commerce company? So this is more of a QCOM general knowledge question.
Yes, and
Very
that's true.
well.
I've written a lot about this topic, and what I've stated for the quick commerce industry is they live and die by capital. They have to have as much as they can get in order to survive. It's the absolutely the most rapid cash burning company or business model I've ever seen. So there's never enough capital for these companies, and they're learning that.
Right. And this one, by the way, is been raised by GoPuff. So GoPuff has the top price for the maximum amount of money raised. What's the estimated Q-commerce market size in 8 years? By the way, some people really, some analysts believe that the addressable markets is about 10 trillion, by the way.
So what's fascinating about this amount is when I started to write about this a couple of years ago, most people never thought this would even take off. Most analysts dismissed it. Most retailers dismissed it. Most of the media dismissed it. And here we are less than 2 years later, and they're already estimating it's a $525 billion industry. But as Nilufer just said, it could actually be more. So this is really fascinating to watch.
Which of the following is what Q-commerce companies should not do, according to Brittain?
Take Brittain Ladd's advice. No, I prefer you did take my advice.
We had to take some dips into you, you know, Brittain.
True. And that's very true. I've been an advisor to the majority of the leaders in this space. And the thing that I was surprised at is they always seem to think that they should be competing with grocery retailers. And my argument to them has always been, no, you must reimagine the retail space for groceries. So it doesn't do you any good to compete with them. You need to come up with a better model or a better mousetrap. So we'll talk about this in some of our coming questions.
So what's the main purpose of supply chains according to Brittain?
Yep, I'm actually one of the, I haven't found anyone else who writes the way I do in regards to this topic. It's not a criticism of anyone else. I've just always looked at the supply chain a little differently. And the articles I wrote several years ago are coming true. And really what the answer is truly enable growth. A lot of companies continue to talk about the supply chain in a way to just optimize, and that's false. The purpose of a supply chain is to do one thing, enable growth. And we'll touch on this in some of our questions as well.
All right. So according to Brittain, which city is a money pit that a Q-commerce company should not launch?
New York City, 100%. I've written multiple articles on this. I recently wrote an article called The Graveyard of Empires, where I talk about the challenges some of my clients in New York City have in the rapid grocery delivery industry. The fact that there are rapid grocery delivery companies losing over $100 on every order they deliver in New York City. So New York City is one of those companies one of those cities that I say is really a mirage. It looks like it's the perfect place to launch, but I've always looked at it as one of the worst places to launch, and it's actually become a reality, unfortunately, for the majority of the rapid grocery delivery companies operating there.
Okay, we just added a poll question for everybody. So just to get a, the pulse of the audience. So looks like this supplier problem is a common problem for a lot of you guys. So Glad to see that in there, and closely followed by not enough drivers for delivery. So the supply side is not only limited to the goods, but also the riders. So that's wonderful. Let's see who is really leading in the boards, Begüm, and then we start the Q&A.
JF, ooh, I knew JF.
Dom C. Wow,
Wow.
congratulations, guys.
Great, wow, great job, Dom C.
If you could please take a screenshot of you showing that you are in the podium, that would be great. So we make sure it's you who won. Congratulations.
And thank you for everyone who played.
Yes, thank you so much. I hope you guys really enjoyed this. And this was a really nice icebreaker before we lead with the first question. So, of course, our topic is Q-commerce. Q means quick. And the quick was really defined by some of the pioneers, especially like Getir in Turkey, Gorillas in Germany, and GoPuff in the US as less than 15 minutes. But Brittain, how fast do these guys need to be really?
You know, that's probably the single most important question we should address in this topic or during this webinar. And I've researched this probably more than anyone on earth. I've investigated this now for about 2 years. And the thing that we know for a fact, or that I know for a fact based on the data, is you do not have to deliver in 10 minutes. You don't have to deliver in 15 minutes. That's really a gimmick. And the reason why I've always been skeptical about the rapid grocery delivery industry and their ability to grow and be sustained is, are they going to be able to move away from being a gimmick company or a real company? So the thing that we're going to see, and that I've recommended to the leaders in the industry, actually to all RGD companies, rapid grocery delivery companies, is that they need to rethink how fast is fast, and is the speed that they're launching the right speed. So you do not need to be 10 minutes. You don't need to be 15 minutes. That's not sustainable. And instead, what I've recommended and what I believe we're going to see is that a scaling back. And the sweet spot for these companies really is between 30 minutes and an hour. And we're going to talk about automation later. But do you have to be 10 minutes? No, it's a great gimmick, but it's not sustainable, not with the supply chains of today and the networks of today. There's a lot of work that it's going to take for companies even be profitable if they continue to insist on that speed of 15 to 10 minutes. That's today. After doing a few things over the next couple of years, then eventually they can get to that where the speed can be attained for 10 or 15 minutes, but it will be profitable speed. It won't just be speed for speed's sake. And we'll touch on some of this and some of the other questions.
Oh, great. So I think this is a great starting point. So speed is not the only way they can sustain and grow. So what else can they do?
Well, first of all, what we have to make everyone understand is that what they have to do first and foremost is rethink their supply chain. They absolutely have to realize this is a completely new business model. They're not a grocery retailer. They're not a restaurant delivery company. They're not a logistics company. They're really a combination of all three of those. Plus, there's something new. It's a new model. So what they first and foremost have to understand is we have to have a better way of planning our supply chain, being able to understand demand, and then be able to meet that demand. And that's some of the topics that all of you will talk about from the Solvoyo side. But for me, the thing that they have to do best of all is that they have to put a business model in place where it's flawless. And what I mean by that is that they can't afford a model where they're losing $50, $60, $70, $100 on every online order they fulfill because of the high customer acquisition costs. They have to have an ability to where they understand that the use of dark stores needs to evolve. It needs to actually be transformed. And the big thing is really understanding the role of automation. That's key. But it really goes back to that first question of speed. Speed should not be what differentiates them from all the rapid grocery delivery companies. The assortment, the ability to have consistent, repeatable, and reproducible deliveries, the best customer experience, and value to the customer. Those are the things that these rapid grocery delivery companies are going to have to embrace and have to master. And as we go through our discussions, I'll be touching on some of this again.
Okay.
So
One thing that I want to mention, when you're talking about, doing, competing on other things like assortment. So talk to us about what you really mean by that. Are you talking about expanding into different categories, increasing the SKU count? What exactly do you think that these guys ought to be really experimenting with next?
I think the thing that got me recognized the most when I started to write about rapid grocery deliveries, I always made this argument. Rapid grocery delivery could not only be about groceries. Rapid grocery delivery or quick commerce really had to be across multiple categories: food, retail, groceries, pharmacy, apparel, and so on. You had to basically identify, so what are the other categories that a consumer would want to order a product from? And so I posed this question. The value of rapid grocery delivery is that it's forcing consumers to ask this question. Why is it I can get my groceries in 15 minutes, but I can't get a blouse, I can't get a handbag, I can't get cosmetics, I can't get electronics, whatever. And so the thing that rapid grocery delivery companies, quick commerce companies need to do is say, so how do we scale across multiple categories? And what are the products in those categories that we should absolutely be offering? The assortment for these companies was intentionally low, or is intentionally low, because it's easier to fulfill from only 1,500 items than 30,000 items. You can't do that manually. And all of the rapid grocery delivery companies, quick commerce companies, it's a manual operation in their dark stores. So what I'm arguing to the rapid grocery delivery industry, quick commerce industry as a whole, is that you must you must embrace automation, and you leverage that automation to give you the ability to offer more SKUs, more products, and allow the automation to fulfill the orders. You slow down your delivery speed to 30 minutes to an hour. And now instead of offering 1,500 products, maybe you're offering 7,000. The systems that I evaluate, the systems I recommend, some of them can hold up to 20,000 SKUs. And the ability of a rapid grocery delivery, a big quick commerce company, to say, you could choose from 20,000 SKUs that we offer, and we'll get the delivery there in 30 minutes. That's absolutely something that I envision is going to be happening. And for some of my clients, they're already having discussions about how to do that. So when I talk about assortment, it's assortment across multiple categories, but it's increasing the total number of products offered within that assortment. These companies can't survive if all they offer is 1,500 to 4,000 products. Consumers are going to want more. And I believe eventually you're going to look at an average of between 4,000 and 10,000 products for each of these companies at a minimum. Some will have more.
Okay. So obviously, how do you really do that when you're talking about a typical dark store model in urban areas, small, right, 2,000 square feet, and only equipped to deal with up to 2,000, 3,000 SKUs. So as they go into the wider categories, how are they going to do that, and what's the use of automation that will enable them to do that?
Well, the thing we have to do is step back for a moment. The reason why I've been pushing the industry always to embrace automation is I've always known, since I started doing my research, that communities, governments, cities, states were all going to push back against these dark stores. And I've stated from the beginning that in many ways, dark stores are a modern day version of a crack house. They really are. They're unsightly, they're unseemly, they have crowds around them, they operate 24/7, customers can't go inside, and there's always arguing, there's always loud noises, and it gives this really unseemly view of these dark stores. And I knew communities and countries would push back, and it's happening. It's happening in Europe, it's happening in the United States. And so what I said is, well, if you can't open up dark stores, as many as you want, and in the United States, you're looking at a minimum of probably around 15,000 total dark stores that you would need to serve all of just the 48 lower states. So if you can't open that many dark stores, you need a better model. And the way to have a better model is you say, well, I'm not going to open up a 2,000 square foot dark store. Instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to look for maybe a 15,000 square foot facility, multiple 15,000 square foot facilities. And then inside, I'll put micro fulfillment centers. Micro fulfillment centers are actual robotics from a company like Brightpick. You have Berkshire Grey. You have Adabotics, absolutely one of the best. Alert Innovation, a fabulous company. You have Adverb out of India, a new entry to the US. You have Exotech. You have many of micro fulfillment companies out there. Fabric, for example, is a good company. And so you have these choices of saying, I'm going to install a micro fulfillment center. I'm going to start offering 10,000 products. The micro fulfillment center will automate the picking. I'll be able to start offering deliveries within 30 minutes to an hour. But what I also can do is within my network, maybe I have a relationship with grocery stores and I'm fulfilling some of my orders from the grocery store. I may be introducing some larger, more professionally run dark stores where the micro fulfillment system is actually fulfilling inventory directly to the dark store. So there are many ways that these rapid grocery quick commerce companies can actually change their network, their ecosystem by introducing automation. But the goal is this: it's being able to put in a model that allows automation to do the heavy lifting, to automate the fulfillment processes so you're able to deliver quickly, but then also to give the ability of these companies to have more profitable growth, because you're not trying to run, 1,500, 2,000 dark stores. I think you're going to have to reduce the total number of facilities that these companies are fulfilling from. And the big thing that I've written about, and I believe it's possible, and I do recommend this to the industry, I think some of these rapid grocery quick commerce companies honestly should collaborate and say, why do each of us need to have our own dark stores? Why don't we just fulfill from the same automated location? We reduce each other's logistics costs. We just compete at the customer level. We compete through our marketing, our advertising, and so on. And in some locations, certain cities, I think, will start to insist that they consider doing this. So that at a high level is what I believe will happen. And it's what I'm recommending. But automation is absolutely the key. The CEOs of these rapid grocery quick commerce companies that don't embrace automation, they will not survive. That's a guarantee.
Perfect. Yeah. So speaking of automation, now we're getting into the technology aspect, right? We talked about the fulfillment operation, automating the picking process within the warehouse, the transportation logistics side. So that's kind of the side that's really probably most visible to the customer, but there's still a lot of way to go on the automation on the planning side. And especially if we're talking about expanding categories, improving the diversity of the offering, and being able to efficiently plan to make sure that the items are there in stock for the automated pickers to pick them up. It does require a digital backbone. It does require a platform that can enable autonomous decision making for all these thousands of SKUs. They'll be expanding to trying to do things manually, doing manual forecasting, manual replenishment planning, inventory optimization. Having to join information from different sources is not going to work when it comes to scaling fast. And also, as you mentioned, now it's not just they're not in this game on their own. There is a whole ecosystem, and that's digital collaboration across the ecosystem, whether they're partnering with grocery stores, whether they're partnering with suppliers, logistics, providers. All of that really need to work on a platform that enables that smooth information flow and decision making and visibility across the whole ecosystem.
Oh, I agree.
Yeah.
And
also, sorry.
No, go ahead, Asena.
And then, you were also talking about private labels and expanding the product portfolio, and also that's interesting. Growth opportunity for sure, but also again it turns into yet more complex planning problem, because now when you're doing private labels, you also have to concern yourselves with all production aspect, right? The planning, the capacity, introduction, managing the life cycle of the introduction of a new platform, of a new product. So now the platforms that, you know, you initially think, okay, well, this is ultimately a retail, you know, company, so they need retail planning. But now once they start going into private labels, then there's going to be that the need for vertical integration, because again, ultimately what they need to do is do this fast, right? Faster than other, you know, traditional retailers, do this more efficiently. And obviously to survive, they need to find a way to do it profitably. So yeah, the technology is going to look a lot more, I think, complex and multidimensional and collaborative and inclusive, and it's not going to be something that can be managed with a series of, you know, Excel sheets and macros.
Oh, I agree. And for some background for all of you who are listening, who are attending this webinar, who will eventually watch it at a later date. The reason why I'm on here is I've been following Solvoyo for about 10 years now. And on LinkedIn, on my own, I keep getting asked questions about what's the best planning software, what's the best software for transportation management, what's the best supply chain software. And I would always say, I only recommend one company, Solvoyo. I don't work for Solvoyo. I'm not paid by Solvoyo. I'm not on the board of Solvoyo, nothing. I just simply have a background with SAP and Oracle and Manugistics and I2, all of the leading systems out there, Microsoft products and so forth. And the thing that I started to write about when I started to write about rapid grocery delivery, quick commerce, is pointing out how unbelievably complex this business is. So let's take everything you said, Asena, and now let's add on top of it dark kitchens. The fact that I've recommended to the industry that the way for this industry to grow is not only to offer rapid grocery delivery, rapid retail delivery, but also incorporating food delivery with it. So basically having these larger dark stores, but inside it is the ability to have automated pizza making and things like that. Well, now you have planning for more perishable product, planning for ambient temperature product, planning for being able to get groceries to the customer, but now you're going to start adding maybe food delivery to it as well.
And production.
You cannot do that with the traditional systems out there. And so I really was offering Solvoyo as a resource to the industry. And to the credit of the industry, many of them reached out to me and they said, wow, we hadn't really thought of this. Or what they like to say is, but Brittain, we build our own system. So let me make this as clear as I can. There is not a single rapid grocery delivery company out there, zero. There's not a single quick commerce company out there, zero, who has a system they created that can come close to what Solvoyo does. I'm a former Amazon executive. I went through this at Amazon where we had to build everything, and it was sometimes a disaster. So my advice to any of the companies out there that are listening to this in the industry or want to get into the industry, or if you're a grocery retailer, rethink any idea that you want to be building these systems, and at least take the effort to speak with Solvoyo and learn what they're doing. I'm not trying to sell you on Solvoyo. I'm trying to give you some really good advice that you don't want to go down a path that may not be worth it. So that's why I'm on here as well. That's why we're talking about Solvoyo, because the supply chain is really critical for rapid grocery delivery for quick commerce.
Well, thank you so much. It's thanks to the likes of Brittain, all of a sudden supply chain became sexy. And when you when you put it in the context of quick Q-commerce, really making that both speed and availability promise, there has to be a very robust and agile and smart kitchen in the background. And that's what we call logistics, or when we call supply chain. So thanks for that. We just picked up a question from the audience. This was actually submitted as audience registered. Who will win the Q-commerce race? So what's your view on that one, Brittain?
This is really fascinating. So this morning, prior to me being on here, and I don't know how this will all turn out, but I've been working with the CEO of Bike, James Walker. I've been trying to help him actually save Bike. I've offered a few suggestions to him. James Walker is a great man. He's really one of my favorite CEOs in the industry. And along with bike, the company Fridge No More is having some challenges as well in getting funding because of the events in Ukraine. So I'm being told by sources that DoorDash has either acquired Fridge No More or is going to acquire Fridge No More. Now, that may or may not happen. But whenever I talk about this industry, what I need to point out, and what I always point out, is it's changing very quickly. So when I say, who do I think will win it? I certainly think you have to look at DoorDash. I believe they're the most dangerous company out there for other rapid grocery delivery companies. And I think DoorDash has the most potential to eventually become an actual retailer. And I believe DoorDash is going to be the most aggressive in continuing to make acquisitions. If we break it down and say, of only the real quick commerce players or rapid grocery delivery companies, who do I think will win? Well, if Bike is off the market and Fridge No More is off the market in the United States, you certainly have Getter and you have Gorillas. Now, I really think highly of both of those companies. I think from a rapid grocery delivery perspective in the US, I think it's a two-horse race, Getter and Gorillas. Any of them, either of them can win. Consumer is someone who, the founder of Gorillas, he's someone I admire very, very much. We communicate quite frequently. I know he's got some really big things he's doing. Getter is doing some big things. But then we have to talk about GoPuff. I love GoPuff. It's not a slam against anyone else, but I love how aggressive GoPuff has been, and GoPuff has made brilliant moves. They have a retail house with Bevmo. They bought that company. I still think that they actually should acquire Sprouts. I've pushed them for that. I think that'd be a great acquisition for them. And they're very aggressive now. They've expanded to Europe. They're being very aggressive there. And they'll probably go public this year. I believe that GoPuff will be a $50 to $60 billion company easily by 2025. So you have to look at them and their potential to win this thing. So if anyone says, I guarantee you, the winner of this is going to be Gorillas, that's false. Gorillas has a lot of work to do. If someone says, get here, absolutely, they're going to win it. It's too early. So I don't think we can really say who's going to win this, but I do have a favorite, and I do believe you have to look at DoorDash. I think you have to look at GoPuff, and then you certainly have the ability of maybe Delivery Hero or certainly Uber. I think Uber can make a big move. I think Uber could potentially acquire Deliveroo. DoorDash and Deliveroo had talked last year. So there's so much going on that I can't really say who do I know for certain will win. But my favorite is, I think you have to watch DoorDash, and I think they're the ones followed by GoPuff who are going to do some great things. As for Grubhub, Grubhub made a big mistake by not acquiring Bike or funding Bike. It was a terrible decision on their executive team. And Grubhub, if you're listening, I strongly advise you to stop listening to me now and pick up the phone and call Bike and figure out a way to make that work. If you don't want to do that, then Grubhub should acquire Fridge No More. Grubhub is really in a bad place now. They have no rapid grocery delivery capability. So they need to do more. They need to make a big move. The reason why I don't write about Grubhub that much, I'm not impressed with their executive team at all. I think they've made too many mistakes. I think they move too slow, and I think they think too small. Now's a great opportunity for Grubhub to think big. And if you do, I'll be the first to compliment you. If you make an acquisition of Bike or someone like that. So at a high level, that's my interpretation of the industry.
Wonderful. So another one that is also on top of mind for the audience is, will there be consolidation? If so, what kind of a shape do you think it's going to take?
Okay, I'll answer that, but I did see a question come in about should you own a fleet or should you lease a fleet? It really depends. Within an ecosystem, these rapid grocery quick commerce companies are going to find out that the math is going to tell them that for certain locations, they have such a high density factor that they're actually able to profitably own a fleet and use it to make the deliveries. Again, the challenge is, do you understand your transportation needs and can you manage them? And that's another reason why I've written about the importance of Solvoyo, because I like their platform, how it's end-to-end, 100%. You do transportation, planning, inventory, everything. The problem I see with these rapid grocery quick commerce companies is they jump to conclusions on what they should do. They don't have an ability to do the math, or they don't do the math well. So in regards to that question, I believe you let the math determine where in the US do you have your own fleet and where do you basically use a gig worker model, a lease fleet, something like that. And in regards to will there be consolidation? Yes, absolutely. Frankly, we're going to see that accelerate. It doesn't make sense for a quick commerce company not to take advantage of buying smaller, really strong competitors. So DoorDash is a perfect example. If DoorDash acquired Fridge No More, it's a great deal for them. Just as I think DoorDash acquiring Delivery would be a great move for them, or Uber acquiring Delivery, or Gorilla's acquiring Delivery. Delivery is a delivery company in the United Kingdom. They do a fabulous job. I'm amazed they haven't already been acquired. So if I look out there, the challenge we run into is that DoorDash has an interest in Flink. I've really pushed Gorillas to acquire Flink, but really DoorDash got their hooks in them first. Then you have Delivery Hero, which owns, I believe, 8% of Gorillas. So if someone wanted to acquire Gorillas, that might be a little complicated. An interesting move would be if Getir and Gorillas merged. I don't think that will happen. There's a lot of competition there. I love both of those companies, but they really are competitive. But will consolidation happen? 100%. I really recommend that it does. But here's the thing we have to remember about this industry most of all. Rapid grocery delivery companies, quick commerce companies, are not trying to grow a company. They're trying to create an entire new industry. They really are. So when we look at how did Amazon become Amazon, Jeff Bezos never wanted to be an online retailer. Jeff Bezos wanted to reimagine retail. Rapid grocery quick commerce CEOs, the reason why I admire them, the reason why I respect them, the reason why I like to write about them is that they woke up and said, I don't want to be a retailer. I want to build a new industry. And so that's what we're really witnessing here. It's not going to work out for all of them. There's not enough room for all these players. So by the end of 2022, by the middle of 2023, I believe we'll see probably 30 to 40% of the industry consolidate. And there'll be some surprises out there. Walmart possibly acquiring someone, possibly Kroger, Instacart, what a fabulous company. They have all kinds of opportunities. So keep an eye on this. I'm basically prepared for anything to happen in regards to consolidation.
That's great. Asena, go ahead.
So while we're talking about, growth, expansion, surviving, winning, there are still, I think, concerns on the operational side, on the analytics side, on the automation side. These companies are struggling with. And some of the, based on our experience with our customers, everybody's very excited about getting the app and the ground operations, running and keep opening, dark store after dark store and make the app, fancier, more engaging. And there's definitely a lot of thought and effort put into that. But a lot of times we see what really gets in the way of growth is being able to do the planning in a scalable way, being able to address all the stuck out issues, root causes, because, as you mentioned, of course, everybody's goal is to grow, and they're going to be selling, maybe you said between 4,000 to 10,000 SKUs, but already with 1,000 to 3,000 SKUs, there are a lot of, inventory management, planning, and logistics issues that are also not just their own within their control, but it's an ecosystem. So they're relying on the suppliers to deliver on time, so they have enough stock to fulfill these stocks in 15, 20 minutes. We see still a lot of manual work being done in the introduction of new products. Somebody has to manually figure out how much they're going to sell and how they're going to stock. Same way, opening of the new MFCs, that's still a lot of manual planning. So in general, I think they need to focus. If if they were to achieve this fast growth and expand and, and potentially be the winner in terms of, profitable day, of course. I saw one of the questions being, what does it mean to be a winner? It's, I assume based on what you said, it is start to producing profits rather than relying on constant cash, influx into the business. So in order for all those happen, they really need to also invest in digitization of their, planning, get their, data in order, both internal, external, establish collaboration, and work on that framework. And only those companies who do that early on in their life are able to expand very fast. And we see customers with very few stores coming to us already with 20 locations. They're like, we want a platform that can scale us to 1,000 locations.
Right.
Oh, I agree.
And there's also a very nice question that came on with respect to the role of AI, right, in helping Q-commerce companies kind of like driving quality results. And this is the perfect time to maybe talk about how everything is so agile for these guys, right? There's new SKUs coming in, new MFCs coming in, new DCs, new cities with very little history to create predictions. So then the role of AI here is to really be able to create a platform where the platform can self-learn and drive quality decisions, and where there's very limited data, really, set up, some mechanism so that, even with limited data, quick and fast decisions can be made. So maybe you can also weigh in on that one, because definitely AI as part of decision making is going to be very critical to incorporate into, supply chains for Q-commerce companies.
Oh, I agree. I've written about this topic extensively. Machine learning, AI, basically mixed integer programming, linear programming, stochastic modeling, being able to run all types of analytics to understand how is your network performing, how is your ecosystem performing, what are the needs of your company. And I really need to point out that the growth of these companies, quick commerce companies, will not just do one thing. They'll have different tiers, different levels of service. They'll be eventually selling more products to where they're almost like a retailer, a grocery retailer. They'll have customers that say, I really do want it in 15 minutes. Well, that'll be a separate service. Then they'll have a traditional, more of a stable 30 minutes to 1 hour delivery, but then they'll do quick commerce. There's many things that they can be doing, leveraging robotics from a company like Tortoise Cart that now has mobile retail that's robotic. And so what they need is, again, that platform that allows them to basically turn this entire supply chain and make it autonomous. And I've spoken about this topic about the autonomous supply chain. And it really shocks people because they're like, that can't be done. And I say, no, it can be done with the system you're using. It can be done with most of the software on the market. But the company Solvoyo really has done put a lot of time, money, and effort into this. And I think that they're really this close to giving companies that ability to have an autonomous supply chain. The level of complexity is so great. The worst thing that you can have as a quick commerce company is a bunch of humans trying to make these planning decisions. They're too fast, they're too furious. They come from so many different aspects of the business that I think you're going to have to seriously say, how do we automate that? In regards to a question that came in earlier about CVS Pharmacy, yes, I've made the argument that really what CVS Pharmacy should do is go to Amazon and say, how about you put Amazon Go stores in the front end of our retail? We run the pharmacies, but Amazon, you run all of the retail. Or CVS could say, what if I go to Gorillas and say, you run our retail, you do deliveries from all of our CVS pharmacies, or Go Grocer of Chicago. Basically, go to Go Grocer of Chicago and say, how would you like to run our front end? And then you do rapid grocery delivery from each of our stores. So I think CVS needs to rethink their strategy. I would push them to be more aggressive and thinking along the lines of what I just presented, but that's actually a great question for whoever submitted. Yes, I think CVS absolutely can do more, just as I think, Walgreens can be doing more in this space.
Hey, Brittain, there are also some brands that are attending the events, not just Q-commerce companies. So obviously the brands are an integral part of the Q-commerce ecosystem, right? Because they are the suppliers. And the question here is, what supply chain innovations that they need to drive? What kind of capabilities that the manufacturers should be offering to grow with the Q-commerce companies?
Well, that's really an interesting question, but it actually needs to be expanded. So for all of the brands that are listening, I strongly advise you definitely to understand the service, the software from Solvoyo, no doubt. But I also recommend you reach out to a guy named Corey Aperian. He runs a company called Da Vinci Micro Fulfillment. And he works with brands, major brands, and I also work with him as well. And what we've discovered is that the big problem on the part of brands is that they really don't have much flexibility in their supply chain. They're so used to manufacturing and meeting demand for retailers or for marketplaces. So what these companies really need to do, what the brands need to do, is have a platform that they can view and says, this is not only the supply chain that we sell through, this is our supply chain needs as a company. And because we're going to go direct to the customer, or we're going to have a retail model, and we're going to have a marketplace model, we really need to have supply chains that can be responsive, that can be stable, and that basically have the ability to be fast when we need them to be, to ramp up and ramp down. And it takes an awful lot of analytics to do that, an awful lot of a business engine, an analytics engine. And again, it's understanding, so how do we as a brand automate as much of this process as we can? So the only way these brands will ever really become major players in terms of e-commerce is that they're going to have a supply chain that enables them to grow. But they're also going to need partners that they can work with, whether it's Da Vinci Micro Fulfillment or someone else, that says, you can ship your products to us and we'll leverage our micro fulfillment centers to do the fulfillment same day, next day, second day across the US. The thing that brands have a bad habit of doing is limiting where they think they can operate or sell through, and that's false. If you get the right logistics partner, brands can absolutely have same day delivery across the US, just as they can easily have 100% next day and second day delivery as well. So this is one of those times where if the brands have any questions, I'd say really speak to Nilufer, speak to you, get a better understanding of what their supply chain needs are. But it's a fabulous time to be a brand because e-commerce is growing. And now you have these quick commerce companies that are loving the fact that they can be doing business directly with brands and that they can basically become a fulfillment arm for the brands.
Wonderful. The heavy discounts question here, are they sustainable?
No, the discounts are not. Again, and the way we know it's not sustainable, all we have to do is look at Uber. Uber became Uber because they intentionally underpriced the actual service that they were offering to customers. On average, you were spending about $5 for a ride when you got an Uber. When Uber went public, they had to have actual pricing. And the cost of taking an Uber increased by over 50%, in some cases, some regions of the US by more than 100%. So the mistake, and it is a mistake, I've warned the rapid grocery delivery companies, you have to be able to offer value. And if all you can do is offer a promotion where I'm Brittain Ladd and I say, here comes a Gorillas promotion. So I'm going to leverage this for this week and I'm going to get a bunch of free food, free deliveries. Well, now here's a Fridge No More promotion, a Getter promotion, a bike promotion, a Joker promotion. What you're running into in this industry, there's a bunch of people who've learned to game the system and they just simply keep leveraging promotions. That's how they're interacting with the quick commerce companies. They need to stop that. The quick commerce companies, rapid grocery delivery companies, they need to be able to make the argument to the customer, what we have done for you is given you a better life. And the way we've given you a better life is we've given you on average 30 hours a week back that you can do whatever you want. You have 60 hours a week back, whatever the number is, and it's going to be different for the companies. And that's what they need to put the focus on. Also, as I've said before, the industry, the quick commerce industry needs to expand across multiple categories so that they can say to the young mother, you didn't have to leave home because we were able to deliver the over-the-counter medicine you needed, the formula you needed, the diapers you needed, and we did it at 3 o'clock in the morning. No one else can do that. They can talk to another person and say, you were hungry, you're studying, you're working, we were able to deliver food to you. They need to put more of the focus on why and how they add value. And it's a mistake that they aren't doing this. So I believe we're going to see after this, especially some discussions in the industry about, wait a minute, we really do need to start talking more about this is how we make your life better. This is how we save you money, especially in the times that we have with inflation being at the highest it's been in over 40 years. So the other thing that I strongly encourage the industry to do is say, so how do we introduce an even more interesting model where we say to people, how about you bring your friends and family, you order from us, and if you hit a certain number in terms of the total number of products that you're ordering, we'll give you a volume discount. Now, we won't deliver it in 30 minutes or 15 minutes, but we'll give you a volume discount. And that to me is the next big thing in retail, in quick commerce. Being able to say, we're going to leverage volume, friends, family, even companies. Imagine going to Elon Musk and saying, I'm Gorillas. Say I'm consumer of Gorillas and saying to Elon Musk, if you convince your associates, your employees to order from us, we'll give everyone a volume discount in all of the cities you operate, which will give your employees an average savings of 30%, merely because we are your provider. We are your preferred provider of groceries and quick commerce product. I absolutely anticipate that's going to happen as well. They have to get away from this ridiculous promotions model. It doesn't work.
Oh, wonderful. Last minute, can you take two questions? One is, what's the government's role? How can the government help? Obviously, because they have a lot to play, not just local government, but also country level. And also the value of, let's see, what's really the key factors to offer stellar customer service? If you can also cover those two.
Okay, well, stellar customer service absolutely begins with the quick commerce industry understanding who their customers are and what is value to those customers. As Amazon always talked about, delight customers. Why did Amazon become Amazon? They always put a focus on delighting customers. That's what the quick commerce industry has to do. They know who their customers are, so they have to figure out the best way to delight them. That's always number one. The role of government is frankly to make it easy for these companies to be able to scale, to expand. But it's also the role of government to say, we need you to offer this for everybody. It cannot just be in the most affluent areas. We have lots of food deserts in the United States. There are food deserts globally. So the role of government should be to say, we'll help you scale. We'll help you be successful, but we need you to take an active interest in our communities, in the individuals within our countries, our cities, our states, so that we're meeting the needs of everybody. That to me is really what the role of government is.
Well, that's wonderful. I know we're like a minute over, but listen, we can stay on this and talk another 2 hours probably, because this is such an exciting and emerging area, and definitely a completely new industry is being born and in front of our very eyes. So hopefully this is going to be one of the many that we will hold together. Hopefully all of the audience who joined in everywhere from Brazil to Australia really enjoy this. And those of you who couldn't participate will share the recording. And, we'll definitely be very much interested in getting your feedback as to how we can really shape the next event. Thank you very much, panelists, Brittain, Asena, and thanks so much for the Solvoyo growth team, Begum, to put this together. Stay tuned. We'll be together, hopefully, in the next quarter, doing another fireside chat. So thanks again.
Thank you so much, everybody. I'll post this on LinkedIn as well. For those of you who have a question that we didn't answer, feel free to submit it to me on LinkedIn, and I'll be more than happy to answer it when I post this link to this webinar that we just did. I want all of your questions answered, and you're more than welcome to submit them to me, and I'll make sure to answer them that way. But thank you so much for inviting me.
And what we're going to do is we're going to actually contact the winners, and then we'll let you know of the next steps. So thanks again for playing, and thanks again for listening. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Goodbye.